Welcome to the Gifters Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Kai. This podcast is sponsored by the GPS Online Program, which Forbes has stated helps entrepreneurs become professional speakers. For more information, go to christopherkai.com. Our guest today is Baisakhi Saha. She's an author, a motivational and TED speaker, performer, photo model, and evolutionary artist. Baisakhi, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Christopher.
So, just so our guests know, you're actually in Costa Rica, which is a beautiful place. I've heard many, many great things. I've not been there yet, but what's one thing that our listeners, if they've never been to Costa Rica, what's one thing you might share with them about Costa Rica that they might want to come visit one day?
Well, Costa Rica has the best weather in the world. And I say that because I have lived across 8 countries and traveled to more than 30 countries. And I think, Costa Rica, it's never too hot, it's never too cold, and it's beautiful. We are surrounded by butterflies. We have the magical blue morpho butterfly, which is native to Costa Rica. Then we have the Caribbean Sea, the beaches, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and lots of touristic places, volcanoes. You can even go swimming into the crater of an extinct volcano. It's that adventurous and that cool. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm going.
You have to come.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So in Costa Rica, we have this phrase called Pura Vida. Pura Vida means pure life. So a lot of Americans actually from US and Canada, when they retire, they come to Costa Rica to settle down because it has such a beautiful weather and it is just such a beautiful country.
Nice. So let's talk about your TEDx talk. What did you talk about? What was the title of the talk and what was your topic?
So I have done 6 TEDx talks internationally on different topics. So I'll just share a little bit. My first talk was about the perception of beauty across cultures. So it is about women's beauty because a lot of women in different cultures, they are so they have such a negative self-image. Even very beautiful women have that kind of image because of the way our society is structured and everything. So through my travels across the world, I've actually realized very different concepts of beauty than what I was told was beautiful. So this was a TEDx women's event. So this topic was to, empower women. Another of my TEDx talks was called How to Travel the World at the Drop of a Hat. So I started traveling since I was 17, and a lot of young people nowadays, they want to travel, but they are scared, and also most people are limited because they don't have enough money. So that talk is about how you can travel with no money, and have a ball, like wherever you go. And there are different ways to do these things that I have explored on my travels.
Can you share some of those ways?
Yeah, so there are a lot of student exchange organizations and volunteer organizations that actually let you go to a foreign country, work. They pay you some money, not a lot, but it is enough for you to stay there. And a lot of people come for these volunteer experiences, so you can actually get together with others who are in the same boat as you are. And then what I used to do is on weekends or holidays, we would go and travel in groups. And that way we saved a lot of money. We would stay in backpackers' lodges. We would hire a car, like the carpool kind of thing. And all of us would pool in. And, I have traveled for the last, I have done this for at least 10 years. So I can tell you how cool it is, and most of my magical stories come from these adventures. So that TEDx talk is about that. Then another one I did is called.
Well, let's focus on that for a little bit, because again, many people may not have the opportunity to travel, and I don't want to gloss over, because it sounds like you've done so many things, you know.
Right.
So with the travel, again, a lot of people think, oh, I need a lot of money, but no, like you said, there's volunteer opportunities. You can my cousin lived in Japan for 2 years, where she taught English. You can teach English in Spain. And there are these things called couch surfers. If you go to couchsurfing.com, you know.
Yeah.
So I just want our listeners to know that, you know, travel can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. So you're a great example, a great role model for that. So I don't want to gloss over that point where traveling is so powerful and important, because it allows us to just be more open and more connected. So
yeah, and it expands your mind. It challenges everything that you have believed, you know, especially me, because I come from a very traditional conservative culture in India. And, you know, as a young girl, I started doing this, and it was, you know, going against everything that I was taught. But in the process, I just realized life is so expansive, you know, and people are so limited in their thinking when they are just, you know, in their own culture, and everything they define with the belief systems of their own culture. But when you go out, you know, and you explore different cultures, suddenly you don't know what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, because, you know, sometimes what is good in one culture and acceptable in one culture is totally wrong in another culture. You know, so things like that really make you expand and question a larger truth, like, you know, what is life all about, you know, and why am I here? And suddenly you are serving a bigger mission, you know. So
no, that's great. I'm looking at your YouTube, and it looks like you have a pretty big following. You have over 40 million views. So when you talk to different audiences, what specific topics do you talk about? I know you mentioned you did 6 TEDx talks, but like, do people hire you to talk, or what's the main talk you talk about? Or is it just a constantly evolving thing, as I mentioned?
So usually my topics are all about expanding consciousness, because everything in life is consciousness. You know, the external world is a direct manifestation of our imaginations, you know, and all limitations, all barriers, all creativity lies in our imaginations, in our consciousness, the way we perceive reality, the way we perceive things. Now, some people have it easy in some aspects of their lives, but in other aspects they are struggling. So it is the case with everybody, you know. So my work, basically, after, you know, traveling the whole world, I've lived in 5 continents, not for a few days, but for years. And I have been able to perceive people's perceptions, people's belief systems, people's cultural conditioning, ideologies, philosophies, theologies, traditions, religious doctrines, you know. So what I do is I break those perceptions. I break the limitations in people's perceptions, so they can recreate their realities. And you know, whatever areas they are struggling with, you know, they can recreate in those areas, but they can also start with some that can bring immediate results. So one of my TEDx talks actually is titled Break the Boundaries of Perception to Recreate Reality. And it is also, I want to mention this because of this pandemic going around the world right now, that it is also about directly addressing diseases and what causes diseases, and how we can live a disease-free life. And I had a broken back at university, and how I spontaneously healed from it after 3 years, which taught me this whole connection with my body and things like that. So because I've traveled so much, I've not always had access to healthcare, and I had to take care of my health. And thankfully, I've never, you know, been sick during all these years that I have been traveling. So those are also some things I teach, from a level of expanding your consciousness to the extent that you don't have to deal with those kind of challenges, especially in terms of health.
Yeah, it's very powerful, expanding your consciousness. How can our guests stay in touch with you, Baisakhi?
Pardon me?
How can our guests? Our podcast is over now. It's a short
Okay.
form
Oh,
podcast.
sure,
So how can
sure.
our guests stay in touch with you?
How can they stay in touch with me? Okay, I have a website which is my full name, BaisakhiSaha.com. So all my contact information is there, and that website also has a blog where I have a lot of posts on evolutionary topics. So people can go there, check out some very controversial topics, how consciousness is played with in different circumstances of life. And they can contact me through my website. I have all my social media links also on my website.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Christopher. I really enjoyed speaking with you.